Let's bring a buddy of ours into the conversation as well, man, and see what he thinks about all this. From 95.7 The Game. He got ties to Sacramento, too. I see John every now and then at the Golden One Center, hanging out, champagning and campaigning. John Dickinson in the house, man. John, what's going on with you, man?
What's going on, Kenny, James? It's great to be with you. And yeah, for those that don't know, Sacramento, my hometown. My parents still live there. A lot of family still there. So I get up to Sac whenever I can. And yeah, it's always good to be heard and join you guys.
Yeah, man, appreciate you coming on, man. We're sitting here, having a discussion about LeBron and Steph and what Steph has been able to do and the way he's been able to change the game and make a mark in this league that is going to last forever because he's going to have. We talk about like coaching trees and all this other stuff. There's a Steph Curry tree. James brought it up. Dame Lillard, Trae Young. We're seeing guys in middle school who are out here trying to be the next Steph Curry, right? And what he's done, you've had an up close and personal view of what he's done in his career in 6 NBA finals in 8 years. Man, this is crazy. And for me, I know a lot of people talk about Draymond and all this other stuff. And Draymond is great. He is a huge factor in all this. People want to call him the heart and soul and all this other stuff. That's cool. The straw that stirs the drink, the reason everything clicks down there in Golden State is because of 30, in my opinion.
It's always, for me, goes back to what Kevin Durant actually said in 2019, and that is that Steph Curry is the system. And to hear a player like that say it, for all of the back and forth and the way that he wound up with the Warriors and wound up leaving the Warriors, and you look at the situation he's in now, but even he knew, as somebody that came and helped take that team and franchise and group to even more extraordinary heights than they had already been those 2 years where they made the finals and won the one championship. Now, he makes, when you look at what Andrew Wiggins has been able to do in a series against the Mavs, it's all predicated on Steph Curry and the gravity and the attention that the Mavs specifically were paying to him. Kevon Looney goes out and averages 12 and 12 in a Western Conference Finals and shoots 75% from the field. The big question around here in the Bay is, hey, the Warriors don't have a big. They don't have a big man. They're going to not win the title because they don't have a big man. And maybe that winds up being true, but Kevon Looney played as well as any big man you could have. And a big part of that was because he was so open, because Steph Curry's drawn 2 and 3 defenders away from the basket, and teams are daring Looney to be able to get behind the defense and make a layup or get an offensive rebound. And he's able to do it because so many are out of position.
Yeah.
John, you bring that up. When you look at that Warriors team, they finished the season number 1 in defensive rating. They don't have a big man. They don't have a natural shot blocker. Steph has never been known as a great defender, and, he's no spring chicken. Clay is coming off ACL and an Achilles tear. Hadn't played in, 900 and something days. How is it that this team, and Draymond misses a bunch of time during the season.
Yeah.
How is it that they're able to do this? Because it's stunning. I mean, Jordan Clarkson isn't a natural defender. He's playing major minutes on the best defensive team in the league.
Yeah, Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole.
But he's playing a lot like Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Jordan Poole.
No question. And it all started, I think, this season with the 18-2 start. They were, aside from Klay Thompson, relatively healthy at the beginning. I think they went into the year knowing Jordan Poole was going to start alongside alongside Steph Curry in Klay Thompson's absence. And they really played a lot of the veterans early in the season. It was Otto Porter Jr., it was Gary Payton II, it was Nemanja Bjelica, the Kumingas and the Moody's. Really Jordan Poole was the only young player that was a part of it. And I think the Warriors made they put such an onus on getting off to a good start redefining their identity defensively based on what it had been in the championship years, and Wiggins being a part of that. And honestly, I mean, in something that relates very much to Sacramento, Mike Brown gets a lot of credit, I think, for setting that tone defensively off the top in leading to the 18-2 and the 41-13. Steve Kerr took a little off of Mike Brown's plate coming into this year in a way of the overall component of helping him guide the team. and basically made him the defensive coordinator. That's your primary focus. Maybe not going to play the switching all the time defense that they had in the past, but come up with more game by game opponent specific defenses, which they really deployed early in the year that were effective. And I think they rode that tone of the 18-2 and the 41-13 into where things got a little janky. Clay comes back. It didn't quite look right. Steph goes out, and Draymond's got to miss time. They were fortunate enough to get everybody back right at the perfect time before the playoffs started. But I think the defensive tone that was set at the beginning of the season, because of some of the specific defenders that they had, the Paytons and the Wiggins and the Draymond, who was playing defensive player of the year caliber, all of that set the tone. But I do think Mike Brown gets a lot of credit for helping to establish some of those game plans.
Yeah, we got John Dickinson here, 95.7 The Game out in the Bay Area. Also, we got Sacramento ties, man. You can see him every now and then at the Golden One Center, hanging with us common folks, because we're down here in, NBA poverty, where we talking about lotteries. We don't even sniff the playoffs. John comes down and hangs out with us sometimes. After the
lucky again, though. Got lucky again in that lottery. That's what, 3 of the last 6 years you're moving up.
Yeah, we got to cash in one of these times. One of these times we got to cash in. It's getting ridiculous. But after the game, I heard Draymond Green talk about how this one was so much sweeter because nobody expected him to be here. Now, Draymond, calm down. No need to go Doc Rivers a little bit. But I understand what he's talking about. 3 years ago, I know I did. I don't have no problem saying it. I thought it was done. It was done. As far as championship, I said they could be a good team. They can be a playoff team, a perennial playoff team. But as far as getting the finals and getting championships, that era is over. And just talk a little bit about how this team has relished getting back to the mountaintop from where they were. I mean, this is a team that had a second pick in the draft. People were hurt left and right. Careers were in jeopardy. And here they are 3 years later, back in the NBA Finals. I understand what Draymond's saying. What do you see with that, John?
Yeah, I think he's admitting that he was right there with you, Kenny, that he didn't know even at the beginning of the year if they had enough. I think this year for the Warriors was almost about how close can they be to being a contender. If that's first round and out, second round and out, get to a conference finals, whatever it is, figure out how close you are and then what you have to do in this offseason to maybe get over the top. I think what they realized was, in part because of that great start that they got off to, was that they did have a chance if they could get everybody back at the same time. And that's where they did have some good fortune in getting everybody back at the same time. But I think Draymond's admitting that there was doubt. And I think to that point, there were the reports last summer of Steph and Draymond and Iguodala, even after he was brought back into the fold, going to management and saying, hey, we want to go for this, almost saying maybe you should look to try and move some of the young players that, for another veteran that can help us get over the top in this window that might only be 1 or 2 years. And I think, those conversations, while the Warriors front office always welcomes them, over time, they haven't always listened to exactly what the players have wanted. And it's wound up working out in their favor. And I think this is another example of sit tight. You think we've built a good team. If you're Bob Myers and Joe Lacob, let's let it play out. And then next year, if we have to go do something, we'll go do it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's an indicator that there was some doubt, guys, even a year ago, as to whether or not it really could all come together off of, kind of a clunky year last year where they got beat in the play-in, and Clay didn't play at all as a different team. Right. But I could definitely see where there would be doubt among Steph and Draymond specifically when you look at what a slog that year was just to eke into a play-in tournament and get eliminated.
Yeah.
JD, when we look at Wiggins, we've kind of been waiting for Wiggins to arrive as this offensive juggernaut that he was supposed to be as a high school player. And all of a sudden, he's this indispensable piece. How does this happen where a guy just all of a sudden gets it and decides that all of the physical gifts that he's been given, he's going to use for an entire package, not just on the offensive end, not just to do some of the things he could do as a young player, but all of a sudden we're seeing this guy become a player worthy of his contract, where for years here he's been an albatross that, you know, everyone thought, oh, could you dump him? And probably not. But all of a sudden he's this marvel of a defensive player, and he's so impactful in this series.
He's at peace. I mean, that's the perfect, I think, starting point. He just seems at ease with who he is. And I think the Warriors deserve credit for not falling into and not allowing maybe people to fall into the trap of just because a guy is quiet. You know, don't mistake that for somebody that doesn't care or who isn't going to bring it, because that was kind of the knock on him. I think at times it's also just the pressure that's relieved from not having to be the number one option and not having to be the number two option. And because let's be honest, Jordan Poole was the number two option when Klay was out, might still be the number two option even with Klay back on some nights. Now, not last night, obviously, but Wiggins can just fall in line with a more natural pecking order, I think, for him. And it was clear in this series that they told him, and throughout the whole postseason, we need you to rebound at a high level, need you to defend. That's what's most important. But there are certain matchups, I think Luka specifically in the conference finals. Hey, if Luka's in front of you and you get the ball, take him. Mm-hmm. And so I think they simplified the game. And I think even Andrew Wiggins is smart enough to know, just based on his career trajectory and his time in the league and where Luka is in his development, Andrew Wiggins was the number one pick. So I think he accepts that challenge of, oh, Luka can't guard me. Like one-on-one with the rest of the defense scattered on the other side of the floor, and in a simple, like, he can't guard me. I'm going to attack him. I'm going to take this shot. And so I think it kind of gets back to what we were talking about with Steph and even Klay, who are always just unabashed, going to take every open shot that they get. I think all of that focus on those two allows Wiggins to be himself. And they've really, I think, deserve credit for also finding specific areas on the floor where he's successful too. That should be pointed out. The left corner three has always been a shot that he's hit at a high percentage. If you watch the Warriors offense, a lot of times he's getting that left corner three a lot, and he was 50% shooting that for a good chunk of the year, that specific shot. They also try to get him the ball on the left wing so he can drive to his right and have the middle to really try and attack. So I think throughout the season, they deserve credit for putting him in positions to succeed in that way as well.
Yeah. JD, we got less than a minute left, but I want to ask you something. It's just us three. It's me, you, and James. We're just talking. We're not on the radio. We're not on the stream. It's just us three talking. How's Mike Brown going to do here?
I hope he does well, because he's a hell of a nice guy, and he's about the most prepared guy you'll ever find. It mellowed a little bit. I think he was maybe more controlling than he had been in other places, maybe a little bit of the Steve Kerr rubbing off of him there. But you're not going to find as a better organized or detailed or prepared individual, respected even individual, than Mike Brown. I think a lot of that's going to come down to, does the owner, if it isn't, are the expectations realistic? I think is the key question in the owner's mind. Because if the owner doesn't feel the expectations are being met and he really wanted the other guy, as had been reported, then does that have the potential for some trouble to seep in year after year one, leading into year two, and then all of a sudden 2 years and Mike Brown's out the door and they're trying to find another head coach. I also think, and I know we're up against it, I'll be quick. De'Aaron Fox is a big part of this thing. Can De'Aaron Fox be the best or the second best player on a 8 seed type playoff team? I think the jury's still out on that question, but Mike Brown's going to give him every opportunity to do it. I'll say that. That's
for sure. John, you're the man. We appreciate you. If you guys want to hear more from him, he's going to be all over the place on 95.7 The Game. Check out the Twitter, JD John Dickinson at Twitter or on Twitter. Check him out, man. John, we appreciate you pulling up, man.
Kenny, James, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a great show.
We'll be back with a little bit more. We're gonna get into the Kings, man, because I got some questions for James about these Kings. I tell you, man, they just make me shake my head sometimes, but I got some questions. and we're going to get in all that. Plus, I like to poach from teams that just made the playoffs, just got eliminated. There's a couple guys on Dallas I might want to poach and bring to the Kings. That's what I do after every team is eliminated. So we'll get into all that here. It's Kenny Caraway, it's James Ham, it's D-Lo and KC on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. We're good. JD, man, appreciate you, big dog. I didn't even realize I wasn't following you on Twitter yet. I see all your stuff because you're on one of my lists. So I'm like, yeah, I follow John. That's nothing. But you're on my list. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hit that follow button.
All good. Y'all have a good show.